creating new value in the digital era with operations in Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and India. Joining me is Glenn Fitzgerald, CTO of Product Business at Fujitsu, Europe, to discuss 5G and its roadmap. Thank you for joining me today at Monaco.
Thank you for having me.
Firstly, I wanted to discuss about 5G. What is the state of 5G at the moment?
Well, 5G is in its infant stage. Fujitsu has just announced a major partnership with Ericsson to help deliver the kind of 5G core that will enable the delivery of the benefits of 5G. We've seen in the UK at least the beginnings of the consumer rollout, but it's early days and there aren't many towns covered, and the towns that are covered are only covered in patch and not with sufficient bandwidth and function. So it's early days, we're beginning to see the start of it. Of course, there are some controversies in this space to do with Huawei that the government is involved with that are going to slow it down even more. So I would say it's a start.
And in terms of the edge?
Well, the edge, of course, is a thing that means many things to many different people. In terms of the Fujitsu interpretation of the edge, it is a mechanism for delivering solutions that affect the local environment. Be that local environment a factory or an individual or a field or whatever, a car, doesn't matter. Edge is about delivering computing to an end use point. And in fact, the architecture of the edge compute field is predicated on the design of the solutions that deliver that value. So it isn't led by infrastructure. 5G and some of the other computing technologies that are being used in this space are mechanisms to deliver the solution, not the other way around. And Fujitsu sees that this will inevitably lead to a kind of hierarchy of function. You will have sensors close to the point of use, be they sensors detecting somebody's health, or sensors detecting the location of parts in a factory, or motors that are making something happen in a car, doesn't matter what it is, that will talk to very local edge processors, whose function is to deliver stuff to very low latency, and with a deal of local processing to enable stuff to happen quickly that doesn't have to go all the way back across the internet and across the cloud. And this will be, generally speaking, Wi-Fi or Bluetooth and some kind of lower level comms. Then between that local and moderate data centers, moderate level, medium level data centers, this is where 5G will fit. Delivering that low latency, but also massive pervasive availability that's going to come with 5G when it's mature. Those data centers will be doing the sharing of infrastructure to enable the delivery of many solutions from a single infrastructure. And behind those, you will get the large data centers where the neural network training and the major number crunching and the huge databases are going on. And according to some of the analysts I've been speaking to, we see over the next few years that this whole space developing into kind of thirds. So you've got a third of the compute and storage space that's held by the hypervisors, by the Amazons and the Microsofts and the Googles of this world. That's fine, it's going to keep going, they're not going away. About a third of it in this two-tier, more traditional data center space, which is dedicated to a particular function or organizations or whatever, and then a third in the edge. Much smaller, but much more of it, getting the solutions out to where they can be used by the people they're going to deliver value to.
And what are some of the trends that aren't so noticeable, but you obviously in the industry have picked up on?
Technology change is enabling the delivery. We've talked about 5G, but it's not the only one. There are several new ones. There is the new Intel Optane technology, which is about delivering non-volatile RAM in storage quantities inside the server. This means things can be much quicker. It means you can fit many more virtual machines inside a single platform. It means you can therefore deliver the kind of edge processing we're talking about. The use of hybrid solutions. Instead of dedicated hardware components for the various functions of an infrastructure stack, it's the same functions just running different bits of software. We call it software-defined everything. So these and other technology trends to do with the way that software is being developed and written, much more open source, much more shareware, means that the way that software is being delivered to these marketplaces is rather different in the sense that people without the means to invest large amounts at startup are being able to deliver that software value to the stack and take their own value from it. So there are, you're quite right to say, a large number of technology trends that are supporting this movement.
And what are some of the key challenges you're facing as an industry in the whole?
Well, key challenges, there's so much new that it's about adopting that and making sure that the processes that surround the technology are mature. So it's all very well having new tech, but you've got to deliver that to users. You've got to make sure that the users are receiving a professional experience. This means our services and products have got to be well developed, well tested, and some of this stuff is very new and we're not there yet. So there's this whole quality assurance space going on. Some of the models are new. I mentioned the non-volatile RAM. Well, programs don't get the best out of that non-volatile RAM unless they're rewritten in a completely different way, which means you've got to rewrite large chunks of the software environment that you've traditionally depended on to get the most out of this technology. So there's all this renewal going on. At the same time, there are changes in the space. You've got the advent of all the artificial intelligence stuff, which is a subject in itself, but which is changing what computers can do. I should put a note of warning in here, right? Skynet is not coming. The computers are not going to take over the world. The thing about artificial intelligence is that it isn't artificial and it isn't intelligence, so it's a great name really, it's just maths. All right? But that maths means computers can do things that they couldn't do before. Neural networks, digital annealing, enable things to happen much faster, so computers can, for example, recognize a picture of a cat. Now it's a trivial example, but a computer that recognizes a computer of a cat is a computer that can recognize a picture of a defect in a manufacturing process and detect it before a human could. It's a computer that can look at a medical scan, an X-ray or an NMR scan, and say that's okay, you don't need to bother with that, or there's something wrong with it, get a professional human involved. All of these new ways of doing things mean that there's more change in this industry now than I think I can remember, and I've been in for it a very long time indeed.
Well, thank you for debunking the myth that AI is going to take over the world.
You heard it first here.
In terms of your company as a whole, what is the 2019/2020 strategy?
Right. So Fujitsu has an overarching vision, which we refer to quite imaginatively as the Fujitsu Technology and Services Vision. Kind of does what it says on the tin. This year, and we've had this for a number of years and it's incremental. This year it focuses on trust. Trust is a major issue for digital technologies. How do you restore trust in digital technologies? I don't need to tell you about the way that trust in digital technologies can be and has been damaged. How many people have experienced online fraud? How many people have been severely impacted by the kind of activities that mean ordinary people and organizations need to be demonstrated that they can rely upon their partners to work with them in a trustworthy way. This means we have to involve our customers in the way we develop the solutions for them in a process that we call co-creation. But it's just a name for working closely with your customers and making sure they understand what you're doing. You can demonstrate to them at every stage that what you're doing is what they want you to do. And you can demonstrate and audit in delivery that that's exactly what's happening. So this year, not a technology process really, but a way to restore trust in digital technologies, which we feel have been undermined recently.
And do you feel like it will work?
Yes, it will work because it isn't technology, which doesn't mean I don't think technology will work, but this is a process thing, it's a human thing, and if you can have the right interaction with your customer, then those bridges can be built. Excuse me.
That's okay. And you discussed about investing, developing and deploying future networks. Can you explain the importance of this?
Well, there are many levels of importance. At the basic level, it will transform your internet experience. So the phone which you currently run your life on, and most people do, especially younger people like yourself, will be able to do much more, it will be able to do it much quicker, it will be able to do it in many more places. At a professional industrial level, 5G means that you can do these edge things because you need 5G to give you the bandwidth to reach and the pervasiveness to reach everywhere. That's what 5G is going to bring, both in consumer terms and professional terms. Let me give you an example. Fujitsu runs a large service providing technology and management services to a large UK business that runs restaurants, lots and lots of restaurants. Fortunately, it isn't a brewer anymore. In those restaurants, the waiters, the serving staff have little iPads or similar, other pads are available, that they use to take orders. Right? And those talk to the EPOS, the point of sales terminal via Bluetooth, and the point of sale terminal talks back to the central database via wired LAN connection. All very well until that breaks. If any point of that breaks, then the restaurant can't take orders. In fact, they do, of course, they revert to pen and paper, but it takes them ages to catch up in terms of stock management and all the rest of that after. What 5G will enable is you can use 5G as an alternative mechanism. So if there is a fault in the hardwired, in the landline network, you can use 5G to deliver just the same. So you're providing resiliency to that business at exactly the point where it needs it.
So will it work as a backup or will it work as...
In that case, it will be a backup. In many cases, it will be the prime. It depends upon the individual circumstances. In this case, there's a building that's already got a LAN connection, so why would you change that? In the case of many new solutions, there'll be no building, it'll be in a field, it'll be something that moves, it'll be an individual like me or you, in which case you need 5G to reach any point of that solution stack.
And lastly, can you sum up the future of Edge in one word?
Significant and indeterminate.
Thank you for that. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Don't forget, you can follow Data Economy on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And don't forget to visit the website on www.data-economy.com.